Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for round about the next, probably about 30 to 40 minutes. Just depends how busy we are with the questions. We'll try and pick as many up during the session as we can. I'm joined today by Rebecca from our digital knowledge team, so she'll be pointing in the direction of maybe some of our help articles that will come in useful for relation to your questions. I'm sure many of your questions will be covered by those help articles. So anything of that nature from CH50 or the help centre, keep your questions coming. We'll keep her busy. We should be joined by Tom in a few minutes as well. Again, loads of knowledge about relating to CH50 accounts. So keep your questions coming during the session today. You are in listen only mode, so you don't need a microphone. If you have got a microphone, it's just going to remain muted throughout. So any questions or comments that you have for us today, you'll need to type them in via the questions panel. The questions panel should be down the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you can't see that currently, on your toolbar, you'll have a little icon. It looks like a speech bubble with a question mark in it. If you give it a click, you will then see that little panel in the bottom right-hand corner. You can show or hide that throughout the session this morning. This morning's session, though, is we're going to be looking at custom fields and having a look at how you can use those, not just within your accounts, but also to help customize your reports. So from my experience of working with reporting and the report designer, which is a very powerful area of the software, I used to get loads of queries relating to I need to design a report that shows me this. And what we'll often find is that by applying the analysis fields or the custom fields prior to your list, prior to actually running a report, it will answer a lot of the questions that you might have and enable you to come up and generate the level of detail on your report that you have. It can often save you having to go down the list and say, right, I want to include that one, and having to manually go down that list. So you can apply a filter based on your analysis fields beforehand and then run your report. So we're going to cover the very basics of using those custom fields today and give you an idea of how you could use them in your software. But again, please keep your questions coming. Could be a busy time for Becca and Tom today. But hopefully they'll be able to answer as many questions as they can. Right, we'll get started. Let's have a look at what we're going to be covering over the next half hour or so. So first of all, we're going to start with the basics. What are custom fields? And also, where are they available in the software? We'll show you how you can set them up and rename them, how you can enter data, and how you can also use batch change as well to save you time doing that. That's a really useful tool if you think, you have that light bulb moment as to how you could use it. You can use batch change to flag that setting within multiple records simultaneously, so that can be a good time saver as well. We can show you how you can show or hide columns and also sort on that, how you can then apply your filters, how you can then run reports with a filtered list applied. I also want to mention some of the upcoming webinars we've got as well. So our timetable currently extends all the way to the first couple of weeks in March at the moment. So if you want to really develop your knowledge from the new year, maybe it's something you think, right, well, I'll start attending these sessions regularly, just about half an hour each week. We're starting to run some of the sessions second time. This is the second time we've run this session. We will follow up the session today as well with an email. That will include a link to our webinar registration page where you can register for those free sessions. But we also add the recordings to that session. And if you just wait for your follow-up email, it will include the link to that page where you can sign up or watch the recordings. The recordings are at the bottom of the page. Get a little bit of feedback here and there saying, well, where is the recording? Just scroll down to the bottom and that's where you'll find the recordings. But again, they're all free to attend and free to access the recordings as well. I will then hang out, well, I say Rebecca, Tom, and myself will hang around for questions, maybe just for 5-10 minutes afterwards, and we'll try and pick as many as we can up today. Beyond that, if you've got any questions, get in touch with our support team or do check out the information that's available via our help centre. It's a fantastic resource for you, that one. Right, let's get started. We're going to start with obviously custom fields. So what are custom fields and where do you have them available? Now, bit of a strange one, this one, because custom fields don't really have a specific purpose. You can use them for whatever you want. So you can actually rename the titles. It might just be a way of recording additional information against those records. Or you may have a specific purpose to help you filter your reports. And that's one of the most common uses for these custom fields. Now, as far as availability is concerned, you've got them just in the key areas within your software. Now, we are going to concentrate today's demo by having a look at the custom fields within the customer's ledger, but you'll have them within your supplier's ledger, your product and service records, you have them available. If you've got projects enabled, you've got them within there. The more recent additions, you'll find them when entering invoices and credit notes. And also, if you're on the professional level of the software, you'll find them within sales orders and also purchase orders. Now, all of the information that we're going to cover, you'll find it in the Help Center. I'll give you a quick tour of the Help Center a little bit later on if we have enough time for that one. But you can access the Help Center directly from within your software, or literally by opening your browser and just going to sage.co.uk/help. So what we'll do is we'll crack on with some demonstrations for maybe about the next 20 minutes, just give you an idea of how you could use them. And it might, again, you might just get a few light bulb moments thinking, oh, I could use it for that, or that would make my job so much easier by applying that type of filter. So if you're forever going down the likes of your customers list and saying, right, I want to select that one, that one, that one, that one, and then running a report, this can save you, potentially could save you quite a bit of time. Right, let me share my screen. We'll get stuck in. Now, again, anything you see in the background, if you want to raise it as a comment or you're not sure about something, or maybe you're just thinking, could I use it for this? Then pop your question in the panel and we'll try and respond to that. Help Center wise, I did mention that just a few moments ago, but you can access the Help Center via this link on the navigation bar towards the upper top left corner. So if you give that a click, it'll just take you directly into the Help Center. And again, you can search the Help Center for the information. You've got some of the more common, the big areas that people contact us about, so we try to group information in these key areas. You can also access the bulletin via this link at the bottom. So where you used to be emailed that email bulletin each month, the support newsletter, you can now access that via the link at the bottom as well. So watch out for that one. Obviously, you're going to see that advertised on a monthly basis as well. Right, let's get stuck into some demonstrations, and we're going to start with customers. Now, if I go into a customer record, I'm going to choose the defaults folder. We've got the custom fields up here in the top left corner. Now, at the moment, mine says customer type, sales rep, and also region. Now, initially, they're just going to say analysis 1, analysis 2, and analysis 3. And you've got this available in all of those key areas where we mentioned that you had them available. So you can rename these headings if required. And you do that within settings, configuration, just click yes to that prompt. And then on your tabs at the top, you'll have one for custom fields. So this is where by default, you're going to have analysis 1, 2, and 3. So we'll change them. If you can find a use for them. So for instance, when you're entering invoices, rather than just being called analysis 1, 2, and 3, you might always ask that question. When you're entering an invoice, can I just ask, where did you hear about us? So a little bit of market research almost. You might have that as your sort of question 1. And you're changing the title so people, when they're using the software, they know what to pop into each field. Now, you can't predefine the content. You can't say, right, these are your choices for that option, but you can change the title. So in my example, I've got customer type, sales rep, and region. Whatever you pop in there, that's what will be displayed within the software. You also have some for the ones that are available within project costing. And if you choose the project costing tab, you've got the analysis fields here. And similar for products, your custom fields will be called category A, B, and C. But again, if you want to rename them, you can do that. If you make any changes, just click OK, and that's it set up within your software. Now, if I pop into customers, just as an example, and we'll just pick on this one, this very first one that I've got listed. I'm going to go into that record, back into defaults, and you can see at the moment, this customer type is, I've got trade entered in that field. Now, I can just literally go into each record and type text into that field, whatever I want to use. So trade, retail, web sales, customer. I might have a series of account managers. So who is assigned to look after this customer? I might have that as, like, in this case, I've got a sales rep, but you could change one of those titles to account manager, pop in the name, and it means that they can then, when it comes to doing things like a age debtors report, so if you've got certain people that look after certain customers, you can easily filter that list. Now, rather than type them in individually, particularly if you're just starting to use that one, what I can do is I can select multiple records. So let's just say I select those ones. And rather than go into each of those in turn and then edit the record and amend that certain field, what I can do is I can go into batch changes. Now, batch changes isn't available to you if you're on the essentials level of the software, but it will be on all of the other levels. And it takes me into almost a skeleton record. And at that point, I can click defaults. And these are all blank fields at the moment. So let's say I type in, let's say retail as an example. So type in the change that I want to make, save it, get prompted. You've chosen to make changes to multiple records. Do you want to save the changes? So yes, I do. And that saves me going through each of those in turn. So I just go into this first one again, into defaults, and you can see it's got retail in there. So it's a potentially good time saver, that one. Now, if we just close out of that, back to the list. The other thing with custom fields as well is you can make that visible. So if we right click any of the column headings, we will then see those fields available. So where are they again? So let's scroll down to the bottom. You've got my what was analysis 1, analysis 2, and analysis 3 tagged on the end. So I wanted to see that, maybe that customer type column, for instance. I can switch that column on. There it is. I can also sort by that column as well. So if I just click the column heading, it'll put it in ascending order initially, or I could click it again, puts it in descending order. So I can see at a glance my trade customers, my retail customers. I've got this one flagged as cash. I've got this one flagged as public. So whatever you've used them for. So again, if you wanted to show or hide columns, you just any column heading, right click, find what it is you want to see. So the analysis ones are at the bottom of the list here. Also, if there's anything on the default list that you don't want to see, such as you might not want to see a contact name or credit limit or balance on that list, or whether it's inactive, you can switch columns off as well. You can't rearrange the order of the columns. That's something you can't do in Sage 50, but you can show or hide them at any time. And if you do want to reset the default, just use defaults right at the bottom. It'll reset those column headings for you. Right. So we can see at a glance this customer type. By default as well, incidentally, your records will always be sorted in ascending order by that first column heading. Now, based on these results, or based on what we've set our customer types up as, let's say we want to run a report based on or we want to see maybe our retail customers only. So what we can do is we can go into filter, and all we would do is we would choose join, choose where, choose your relevant field. So we're looking for, initially it would have been called analysis 1, 2, 3, but we're looking for cust type. So that heading should have changed in this list as well. Now I can either scroll down to try and find it. So there it is. Or I could have, if I press C, it would bring up the first option beginning with C. So let's say I wanted something beginning with T as an example. If I press T and then keep pressing T, it'll cycle through the fields beginning with T. But I want one beginning customer type. So I'll just cycle through, choose customer type. Condition, I'll say is equal to. And then in the value, I'm going to say retail. So I'm saying where the customer type is equal to retail. When I click apply, it will then only display those records for me. So again, this is something that's unique to you as a user. It only affects your display. So again, if you've got a couple of account managers that look after different customers, they can have their own customers listed on their own lists. Now, you know you've got a filtered list when it says at the top, it'll say X number of however many customers you've got set up. If you switch your filter off using this little sort of filter icon, you know you haven't got a filter applied when it says all records. Now, I could leave that filter on in the background and just switch it on and off as and when, or I can always go in, remove it, or apply it at any stage. But it means that by, rather than me having the full list and saying, right, there's a retail customer, I want that one, and I'm coming down the list, I want that one, I want that one, and that one, and that one. So making my selection and then going into reports, what I can do, I just clear that highlight, I can apply the filter first of all. So only the ones that meet that filter are listed, and then I can go into report and run a report at that point. So when I run my report, so I'll just accept all of that criteria, it will only display or only include the records that meet that criteria. And in this case, also the ones that not only meet that criteria, but also the ones that have an outstanding balance for the purpose of this report. So a lot of people try to amend reports. So going into the report design and applying these filters manually. So you don't need to get involved in that. Potentially you could if you want to, but you don't have to. So just in case you can have as many filters as you want set up. So we just close out again, go back into the filter. If I wanted to remove the filter, just clear form, click apply, and in the background there, you can see I'm back to that full list. If you've got complex filters, or maybe you just think maybe to save you a little bit of time, once you've set your filter up, so we'll do that one again. So where customer type is equal to, we'll say retail. I can save it. I'll just say CT retail, save it. And all it means in the future, if I come in and maybe my filter isn't there, and bear in mind your filters can be a few different lines, different conditions, rather than have to set that up each time, I can just click open, select it, open it, and it'll load that for me, and then click apply, off I go again. I've got that loaded. So some filters can be quite specific. Sometimes with the filters as well, there's sometimes more than one way to crack a nut. Maybe you want everything except your retail customers. So you could always go into filter and say is not equal to retail and apply that. So quite a common use for the filters where balance is not equal to 0, for instance, and it would hide all the ones with a 0 balance then. So that's another way of applying a filter to your list. That's quite a common one, that one. any questions? Or we're very quiet on the questions front today. Becca and Thomas sat there anxiously waiting. Who's gonna break and pop in the first one for us? So even if you just want to say hello to them, pop a hi in there and get that sent, just so you know how to use it then. So we're being very quiet on the old questions front. But have a bit play with this. You can't do any harm just by applying or amending your custom fields and having a bit go of that. It doesn't affect any of the rest of your data. You can, of course, build in things like this into the report design. So if we just take an example of how you could maybe customize your report. So if I just went into reporting as an example, and I'll just leave this report selected as an example. And if I went in to edit that report, and all I want to do is I want to just maybe point you in the right direction, just in case you wanted to go down this route. If you are, maybe you're an advanced user, or maybe you want to become an advanced user and learn more about the report designer, you can always go into the design of your report, into reports, and then you've got a filters option there. So you can actually build in, similar to what we've almost just looked at, build that into the design of your report, and then you're not having to apply the filter in advance. Again, if you need any more information when you're in this area, you can always just press F1. It'll bring up the relevant help for you. But much easier if it's something that's going to change quite often. If we just go back to the main list, into filter, and then apply that first of all, then run your reports. So what could you use it for, and what areas? So let's have a quick whiz through. We've looked at customers. Suppliers is exactly the same. So you go into a record, and on the defaults tab, you'll find your options there. So as you can see, this third one at the moment doesn't have a heading in there. So let's quickly pop one in. So back to settings, configuration. I'm having my laptop's having a go slow now. There we go. It's not feeling very well, my laptop today. We had a few errors when I switched it on this morning. It's not picking up the right date or time this morning either, so it might be fixed with a hammer later today, that one. Right, anyway, going back to custom fields. On customers, you can see it's a blank field. So again, I might have subtype this time. Just okay that one. If I go back to suppliers, into a record, into the defaults, and you can see that's now there. So that's suppliers. The other areas that you'll find it, obviously products and services. Switch off the filter on that one. Go into a product record, and if you go into your web tab, you'll find them at the bottom. And the other area, or the other one I really want to mention, because it's a fairly new option, this one. It's probably about, well, I say fairly new, it's been in there a few years now. But within invoices and credits, as an example, we just go into an invoice that we've entered, and you'll find it on the, which tab? Got it right first time. The order tab, you'll find the analysis fields here, or the custom fields. And again, you can go back into that settings configuration to rename these fields if required. The other one, just in case anyone does have projects switched on, go into projects and into a record, and you've got your analysis fields. So analysis types here. Again, you can rename those if required. So as you've seen, custom fields really easy to work with, and it just gives you that added flexibility. That added flexibility when you're working in that area. Right, okay, just going to pop back to the slides for a moment. Now, we have mentioned the Help Centre. We mentioned that at the beginning, so do use that. If we just have another quick look at the Help Centre very quickly. It's just recently been redesigned to make a lot of the information that you're likely to want to use, the most commonly used information, readily available. So again, we'll just quickly pop into the Help Centre. And obviously you can search, you can choose your area as well. So if you just choose this working with bank area, you'll find in that area, it's split into a number of different options. So you've got the support guides, so the common articles, the help guides that are going to guide you through the process, help you understand more about that. You've got videos available. So if you're a bit of more of a visual learner rather than a reader, then go down that route. It will highlight the free training that's available. If you haven't checked out Sage University, have a look, see what's available. There's loads in there, all free to access. You should be provided with the link to Sage University on the follow-up email. And then obviously the last option is get in touch. So if you need to get in touch with our support team, you can't find what you're after or along those lines, then this will outline the option or the best option for you to contact us on for that particular area. The other thing to quickly mention before I start opening up to questions and additional demonstrations myself is our other weekly webinars. So we've got quite a bit coming up tomorrow. We've got Understanding Tax Codes, that's at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. In January, we've got a number of other sessions as well. You may have seen advertised as you've been coming into Sage 50 accounts in the last since yesterday morning that we are running year-end sessions. So if you want to find out more about how to run your year-end, or maybe that's just a bit of a reminder for some of you, but you just need or others, you might be a bit worried thinking that's going to be quite a daunting task. It's not. So come along and gain some confidence, and you'll be ready to run year end as and when that is going to occur for you. We've added a few more sessions for that one throughout January, but all of these sessions, if you want to get yourself signed up, they're free to attend. If you can't attend the live session at the time, just keep an eye out on the link that you're provided with on the follow-up email, and the recording of that session will be made available afterwards. The recording of this session, I haven't recorded this specific session this morning, as we already have a recording of it from when we ran it back in November, I think it was. So if you are wanting to have a bit of a recap on anything we covered, or you want specifically to see that session instead, then again, watch out for your follow-up email, which you get in around about an hour's time. Now, it does bring me to the end of the demo. I was going to hang around just for questions in a few minutes. I'll start picking maybe some of those up as well. If anyone's got an additional request on how you go about setting up an additional filter, or what you could use custom fields for, or you want to bounce some ideas off us, keep them coming via the questions panel. We'll try our best to pick those up for you. But I just want to thank you for your time this morning. I hope you have enjoyed it, and it's maybe just giving you a bit of food for thought. You might go away and think, well, actually, it might be something that in a few weeks' time you think, actually, I'm always selecting these records. Could I just use one of the custom fields and flag them so I can easily select them? And again, potentially it can save you so much time. If you are going down the list of records and forever selecting them, how many times have you run a report and thought, oh, I forgot to select that one? You go out and you then have to run the report again. So use the custom fields, filter the records, run your reports. It'll save you so much time. Right, now watch out for that follow-up email. You get that in around about an hour's time. There will be a short survey pop-up as you leave the session today as well. There's 5 questions on there. Probably take you less than a minute to complete that. If you could do that for us, it'd be greatly appreciated. All your feedback is really valuable. If you've got any comments about maybe some ideas of topics you'd like to see covered going forward as well, then let us know. The recording is already available. You'll get the follow-up email in round about an hour. So again, when you get the follow-up email, if you are wanting to watch a recording, bit of a recap, then just click the link. You'll need to scroll to the bottom of the article that it links to access the recordings. You can watch those as and when you need to. Obviously, it means you can skip through bits if you are already familiar with it as well. Few Christmas greetings coming through there, so I'm assuming quite a few of you are winding down for Christmas. I know a number of people I work with, they've already finished for Christmas. Very lucky to have the extra time off. Right, but we're going to hang around for maybe about another 5 minutes just to see what questions are coming through, and we'll try and pick some up for you. Quite a bit coming through on fields. What fields are available. So let me just share my screen, and I'll maybe start picking up a few here and there as well. So we're going to go back to customers where I started. And let's see, what have you got? Diane. I'll just take Diane's question. Let's just assign that to me. Right, so Diane's just asking, why are you not seeing all of the fields, just payment terms, number of days when applying a filter in customers? When you're applying a filter, they should really be available, but it really just depends. Sometimes it might just be a glaring omission. So if you find anything like that and you think, well, I would like to be able to filter on that one, but you've got to remember what the filter is for. So you can't, obviously you're not filtering on individual transactions at this point, you're filtering on the records themselves. But Diane's just mentioning there for the payment terms. So if I go into a record referring to, I'm assuming this one, I'm assuming it'll be is it the payment due days you're referring to, Diane? I'm assuming it probably is. So payment due days, let's have a look at that one. Let's see if it is there or not. So if we go back into filter, there is a lot of fields in here, but I can't guarantee that every single field would be in there. So let's say payment due days. So is that the one you're after? Not sure. So again, sometimes it sometimes be staring you in the face, and there's this awful habit now and again of by the time you get into this field list, sometimes the name has changed. So rather than it just being called trade contact, it'll say name of trade contact or something along those lines, for instance. So have a good look through that. See what's in there. If you can't find it and you're just not sure, get in touch with our support team and we'll have a look at that with you. Now, a couple of other questions that did come through in relation to this as well. Let's see what we got. Filters wise, there's what you would term wildcards. Now, wildcards, we've got a separate webinar on this one as well. So if you're wanting a much more detailed breakdown of wildcards, you can, so for instance, I could do retail, so where customer type is equal to R asterisk. I'll find the asterisk, apply that one. And that's going to look for R somewhere within the customer type. Is that right? Have I done that right? Sometimes I can never remember the wildcards myself. They're not commonly used. So you have the $sign, you have the asterisk, and you have the question mark as well. So have a look at that. Again, who was asking about that one? Just have another look there on the list. So Ken, I think yours sort of relates to that as well. Yeah, so Tom's picked that up for you as well. So Tom's given you the link to the knowledge base article. It's probably one that Becca's written as well. So do check our work out. You got any feedback on the articles? There's an option to submit that at the bottom of the articles. So you'll find loads of information in there should you need it. Diane, that did answer your query. Thanks for that one. Great. Right, we'll just give it 1 more minute and then we'll wrap the webinar up. Again, apologies, we've had a bit of an influx there all of a sudden. It's always very quiet at the beginning of a webinar, then all of a sudden you get this big influx of questions and we're a little bit unable to respond to them as quickly as we can. If you don't get your question answered, apologies for that one. Do check out the information in the Help Centre. There's loads in there. Remember, if you can't find what you're after or you need to discuss that in a bit more detail, please just get in touch with our support team. Again, if you need to get in touch with our support team, Help Centre, if you click into the relevant areas, there'll be the Contact Us option, the relevant tab, and that will outline the best way for you to get in touch with our support team. But I think we're ready to wrap the webinar up at that point. So I'll just pop back to that very final slide one last time. Once again, many thanks for your time. If you're working from home at the moment, many of you will be. I know it's encouraged by Boris. Take care, stay safe, have a great Christmas, great New Year. If you want to sign up for any of the other sessions that we're running, please do so. Good chance if you are working over Christmas, if it's a bit quieter, maybe to watch some of the recordings as well. But any feedback, please pop that on the survey. So if you can take a minute to do that, would be greatly appreciated. Take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you again. Many thanks.